You're lit up, Joe, but we couldn't hear you yet.
I'm here.
Here we go. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. First up, my compost operator position is a provisional appointment that required the individual to go to a class. We had him registered, all set to go back in, honestly, I can't remember if it was 2019 or 18, but 3 days before he was to go, he had a medical emergency, couldn't go, so we sent another employee because at that point it was too late to cancel. We had reservations, all that. And then had the class was again offered in this past spring, but you know, obviously that didn't happen. We just need to extend his provisional appointment for another year. I actually just got an email last Thursday that the class, they've come up with a way to hold this class again, so we'll get him registered for that. Get that class all set, and then he'll meet all the criteria for a permanent appointment once that happens. But in the meantime, we need to extend his provisional appointment.
Okay, is there a motion to do so? Brian moves it. Who's second? Cassie seconds it. Any discussion on it? Brian?
When's the class and how long is the extension on the provisional?
I think it's probably safe to extend it for a year, just to make sure everything does happen with this class the way they say it's going to happen. They're saying it's going to be a virtual, instead of 5 days, 2 days. They're hoping to get it set up for sometime in November, but nothing's airtight or concrete at this point with that class. I mean.
Any other discussion? Matt?
We should just have Melissa weigh in just to make sure that we're not.
I can't hear you, Matt.
Speak up, Matt.
Okay. Maybe we should have Melissa weigh in so we can make sure we're not superseding any civil service rules, or if there are certain things we have to put in the resolutions to make sure that it's valid. Let's get it done right the first time.
That was fine.
Okay.
Did you hear that, Melissa? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I just jumped on and only heard the end of Joe's request. Currently, there is a temporary compost operator. What Joe is just requesting to do is to backfill that position.
Oh, sorry, wrong
Permanent
terminology.
appointment has retired. So we just want to backfill the compost operator. Yes, it will be a provisional appointment, but we're not really extending the provisionary appointment or the probationary period.
So do we have to change the motion here, Deb?
I would say so.
Yeah, I would say so. Melissa, I'm glad you're on because it's nice to do it right the first time.
Well, I'm sorry I walked in a little bit late, but yes, we're just looking to backfill the compost operator.
That's because you're into the budget officer in the hall. So, yeah, I'll make a motion to backfill the compost operator and remove the last one that I made. So that's a motion.
That backfill, that's temporary compost?
I don't know if it's.
What exactly are we backfilling, Melissa?
We would like to backfill the compost operator.
Right.
It is a permanent appointment. The person in it has retired. So we don't want to temporarily backfill it. We just want to backfill it on a permanent basis.
Can we backfill with somebody who doesn't qualify for the position?
Well, it's provisional,
No.
he has to meet the requirements or he gets removed.
Correct.
That's what you say.
Okay, Brian is withdrawing his first one. I assume Matt withdrew his second. And Brian has made a new motion to backfill the position. Is there a second for that?
I'll second
Matt,
that.
second.
Second.
Still position.
Cassie, we got a bunch of them. All right, is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, we
Sorry
got
about
it, Joe.
that. I apologize for that. I wasn't quite sure what we were needing to do on that either.
You know that.
The next item, we're working on another IMA to cover out-of-district users in the towns of Kingsbury and the towns of Fort Edward. Any of the IMAs that we have now related to out-of-district users are the usual confusing, and my opinion only, not a legal opinion, not a political opinion. They're confusing, to say the least. Both towns, as out-of-district users, are permitted publicly owned sewer systems, permitted by New York State, DEC. As such, they are responsible for the infrastructure that they own and maintaining that infrastructure. Currently, again, my opinion, that is not being done appropriately. So we're going to create an intermunicipal agreement and make sure that that's on record that they are being maintained by Washington County Sewer District Number 2. To fund that, we are going to allocate much the same way that we do with compost. We're going to allocate funds. Sewer District 2 is going to track their time, materials, costs, and back charge that to whatever line we can create. I spoke with Al. We're looking to peel off some of the existing revenues that we get from out-of-district users, create a fund to kind of track that and keep track of that over time. I just wanted to lay that out there so that everybody was aware of that. We didn't blindside anybody. And as usual, we're running into some difficulties, and we just want to make sure that the language is correct and accurate, and that Sewer 2 can track their time and their costs appropriately. It would be, in my mind, it's a little easier if I have a line item that I can put money, shift money into and pull money out of to kind of keep track of that.
Matt,
So you want an IMA with those two towns regarding this? Is that something that the sewer district negotiates with them, or the county does through Roger, or who's negotiating on the sewer district side?
The sewer district negotiates that with them.
Okay, so the sewer district and these towns are gonna come up with an IMA that you're just letting us know about it, and we have to approve that?
Eventually, yes. Once we're comfortable with the language, everybody's comfortable with the language, and then also, from an accounting perspective, I'll be discussing with Al and running through Al to make sure that we're accounting for it appropriately.
You're just informing us that you're gonna go ahead and get this done then, okay?
Yes.
Any other questions?
If there's any concerns or issues amongst the committee or the supervisors, that we can, take that into account when we're moving through with this, that's all.
So will we see a separate line item in the 2021 budget to track that, or is that going to be embedded in something?
Hopefully it will be in the 2021 budget. We'll create it. It has to be created. And I envision this to be, from an accounting perspective, the same way that we do our intermunicipal agreement related to compost with Lake George. Just so it's more transparent, it's more clear cut. I am not interested in raising rates for out-of-district users. That's another big reason that I'm wanting to do this is hopefully it sets a stage for an eventual extension, or it minimizes those costs to everybody.
Anybody else have a question? Okay. Anything else, Joe?
No, that's it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You ready to go, Deb?
Yep. So good morning. For DPW today, we would like to purchase a sander and a snow blower for buildings and grounds. We'd like to do that this year instead of waiting until next year. We've got the quotes for both of them. In case you're interested in the cost, the sander is $5,265 and the snow blower for the skid steer is $6,322. So can I have permission to do that?
Brian?
I move it, but I have a couple questions.
Okay, we got a motion. Is there a second? Second
I'll
from
second
Matt. Kathy. Okay. Discussion.
Okay, so I believe these are the ones that were in carpool, and so they're out of the budget entirely, because they go on carpool anyway. So where were we taking the funds? I guess that's part I forgot.
General fund contingency right now.
General fund contingency right now. So the whole thing was, if you remember when we had the presentation from DPW and the finance, they were in the wrong area. They were trying to take it out of carpool. It didn't belong there. So it's going to come out of general fund contingency. It'll be out of this year's money, and it won't be, that way we don't have to worry about it in the budget. Where it comes from, it'll already be done. So that's why it's here.
So why is it coming out of, why is it Buildings and Grounds coming in and requesting it?
Because it comes out of it becomes out of carpool.
So you just said it.
So, not, the money to pay for it doesn't come out of carpool, but it's basically carpool who puts the quotes out and does the actual procurement, right? Buildings and Grounds doesn't buy things like this. DPW does through the carpool shop. So really, I mean,
It's kind of
it could have come from either department, but really since it's Deb's department that's buying it on behalf of Buildings and Grounds, she's bringing it forward.
But then we still own it, right, at DPW, and then we charge Buildings and Grounds so that we can buy new ones in the future. Yes.
Is that correct? Chris is sitting
The
here.
rental fee to DPW.
That wasn't what she said. That's an interesting thought. It could work that way, but
So yes, in a nutshell.
yeah, it could work that way.
And Buildings and Grounds has that in their budget?
Yes,
Paid?
in their machinery rental line.
Well, they wouldn't have right now, but like she said, in the future, if they want one, they'll put it in their budget. I think it's where she was going. Is that right, Deb?
Well, we'll put
No,
it
I
in
think she has
the budget, but not in the Buildings and Grounds budget.
As I said, it's not in the Buildings and Grounds now. And but in the near future, if ever they want to buy anything like this, they're going to have money in
There's
their
a machinery rental on Buildings and Grounds. and it
It comes out of carpool. The machinery rental goes into carpool and comes out of carpool.
For the sander.
for the sand.
One of our discussions at the budget meeting was that because the snow blower goes on the skid steer, which is owned by Road Machinery, that rental should go to Road Machinery.
Yeah.
That's why I said in a nutshell, yes, that's how it works.
And Building and Ground will be charged the rental.
Yes.
Right. And that's, okay.
I guess we were talking two different things.
Is everybody clear? Is there any more questions on this? All right, all in favor of purchasing the sander and the snow blower, signify by saying aye or thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passed.
Jay?
PJ.
We're all set, Deb.
No, Kathy.
Oh, Kathy, yeah.
I can't hear Brian or Matt hardly at all. Just a little bit.
I can't.
It's because I'm quiet.
That's not true.
I know I'm gonna regret that, Brian, but I can't hear you.
I think the microphone's balance is to be too loud.
Are you saying it's a good thing or a bad thing, Kathy?
Well, we just tried to adjust them.
Well, you know. So it's
Brian
Brian
is
and Matt
low.
that I'm having trouble hearing.
Brian's a little hoarse this morning, so he's about 5 octaves lower than normal here.
I thought maybe you were subconsciously muting him.
You got a mute button.
Okay, Deb, I guess we're ready for the next.
So we have a few retirements that are coming up, and I wanted permission to backfill them when they actually happen. We have a highway worker 2 on 11/25. So I would like to request permission to backfill that highway worker 2 on 11/25. Or do you want me to do all of them?
Go ahead.
Bring them all, because they're all going to personnel anyway, right? Yes.
Go ahead and do them all, Deb, and then we'll talk about them.
Okay, so there's that one. And then on 12/28, we have a highway worker 3 that's retiring. So we would want to backfill the highway worker 3, and that would leave an opening for a highway worker 2. So that's 2 highway worker 2s so far. And then on December 22nd, we have a foreman retiring. So highway supervisor 2 is his title. So we would like to backfill that with a highway super 1 and backfill that probably with a highway worker 3, the way it looks to be panning out right now. So that would leave a highway worker 3 to be backfilled and a highway worker 2. So in the end, permission to fill 3 highway worker 2s on or after the date that they are effective.
Okay,
With the personnel.
And the
motion to move
cascading
with
one?
personnel, there's a second from Cassie. Any discussion? Cassie? Go ahead, Cassie. Did you, Dana, you raised
Is
your
that
hand.
also authorizing her to fulfill the cascading ones behind it? Or will we do those later on?
How's that go, Chris or Melissa?
Yes, you're gonna have a foreman.
My preference is that you approve the higher backfill positions and then approve the cascading backfills underneath them. I know some board members aren't wild about that, so it's up to you guys on how you want to do it, honestly. We've done it both ways.
So basically, the foreman's gotta be filled in.
Yep.
You want to move backfilling all 3 positions to personnel, right?
Yeah, I just wanna move them all to personnel so we can vet them all.
Yep.
Because I think they're all necessary, but would they still need to be vetted?
Dana, did you have a question?
Yes, is this spread out or is this exodus from one barn?
It is in 3 different barns.
All right, thank you.
All retirements. They're not sick of being.
They get all over the county, Dana.
Melissa, do you have a comment?
I just wanted to summarize again which positions are being backfilled, just to make sure that I have the same number that Deb just mentioned.
Okay.
So we have 3 highway supervisor 2s that we're looking to backfill. Is that correct?
No,
How many then? 2?
1.
Highway supervisor 2s?
Yep.
I heard 3 also, I'm sorry.
I have
That's why.
I have 3 highway worker 2s in the end.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misspoke. I think I misspoke then. So you want 3 highway worker 2s
Ultimately, yes.
backfilled, and then we want to backfill 2 highway worker 3s,
Possibly and very likely, yes.
and then 1 highway supervisor 1,
Yes,
and 1 highway supervisor 2.
yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, any more discussion before we send it to personnel? Brian?
I got a question, and I'm probably wrong on the title. Was highway supervisor, was that the ones we were trying to do away with? Is there?
No, those are highway worker ones.
Highway worker one, okay. Very good. My mistake. I wanted to make sure we weren't trying to do something we didn't want to do.
Oh, I would never do that, Brian.
Any more questions? All in favor of moving this, Paul?
One quick question. You got a highway supervisor 1 and a highway supervisor 2, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, because the 2 is retiring, it will be filled with one who's currently a 1, and then we have to fill the 1.
I
should
understand.
draw up a chart for all this.
We need a chart for all these moves here.
That'll happen in personnel.
Couple of bouncing balls. And Deb, you, the dust hasn't settled yet on exactly who's moving, right?
No, it has not. It takes, and that's why it's important to know ahead of time if we can, because of the way the union rules are. You have to post it so that people can change in barns, and then you have to have time to interview new people, and it's a very long process. And going into winter, we really don't want to be behind the 8 ball if possible with this many retirees.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor of moving it to personnel? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
So you all probably saw our beautiful County Route 113 project is finished. And well, it's not completely paid for, but it's almost finished. And I would like to know if it's okay to buy a frame and put some pictures in it of the ribbon cutting ceremony and stuff like that, so that we can display it in the county building.
Is
I'll
everybody,
make that motion.
Daryl makes a motion, I guess if we,
I'll second it.
we got Paul and Brian second it. Any discussion on it? Dana?
I imagine a frame is not very much money. Why would Deb have to come and ask for that?
No,
I kind of told her that, but go ahead, Deb.
I just wanted to make sure it was okay to do that. I wasn't sure how things got put up down in the B entrance, or maybe if we were going to put it up on our wall in our building A, or I wasn't sure how it all worked. But it was a good opportunity to show off one of our projects.
All right.
All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Go ahead, Deb.
So we were approached by the snowmobile, I'll call them snowmobile people because I don't really know. I think it's the Barnstormers, but I'm not sure. And they wanted to drive through, or they wanted to have access through the pit where we as DPW actually use the pit. There's many different parts of the pit and we only use one part of it. So we met with Dave Perkins, and I kind of thought he was going to be on this call today, but he's not. Is he on this call? Okay.
Don't see him.
So I just wanted to give you a heads up that after many conversations with many people, we are not comfortable with giving access to snowmobiling in our portion of the pit. So, just so you know.
Dana?
Deb, are they talking about just having a trail pathway through it, or are they gonna snowmobile all around the pit? If they're just gonna have a path through it to transit the pit, I don't see a problem with that, as you just tell them stay away from your work activity.
So there was 2 issues with this. We went up and met with them, and we tried to decide where we could put a safe spot for them to go through the pit. So we decided that they could go around the barn and down, and we will look into it. And the 2 reasons that we are not really comfortable with doing it this way is, one, it's possible that they could get off the trail, just out of the blue off the trail. And I wouldn't want anybody to get injured with rebar that our guys put down or anything like that. The other problem is we're having issues with trying to keep people out of the pit. And for me to grant access to one entity and not others, even though they're not organized entities, it kind of just flies in the face of what we're trying to do. So that's how we came to the conclusion.
So this, they have traditionally not been using the pit, so we're not going to cease something they're already doing. You just don't want them to start.
Well, after investigating it even further, there are spots that they go through the pit, but those, as far as I understand, are nowhere that anybody uses, that's out in the woods. And
We're
it is,
not going to cut off anything that they're currently using, Dana. They asked to modify the trail so they could come out onto the road and then take the road down to one of the establishments that's down there. And it would shorten their trail, in other words, to go through our pit. Our major problem is they're a victim of other people's bad behavior. We have continuous problems there all 4 seasons long with ATVs and motorcycles in the non-snow season and snowmobilers in the snow season. And other than trying to fence the whole thing off, which would cost us a lot of money and then a lot of time looking at fences, especially with a live fire range happening out there with the sheriff's department during the non-snow months. I don't believe they must shoot in the winter somewhere, but I'm not sure if it's there. And some vandalism problems with some of the equipment from DPW out there. I think Deb, the safety officer, and the sheriff's department are all concerned about increasing activity out there in terms of what we're already experiencing now.
Okay, so this is not going to destroy a part of their trailway system if you cut out this link.
No, they're gonna have to go around it instead of through it. They want to go through it rather than around it, is my understanding of that request. Because it originally came to me, I forwarded it to Deb saying, well, I'm certainly not qualified to talk about this. And then we almost simultaneously, Deb got a inquiry from the sheriff's department because they were concerned about all the people running around back there while they're doing their live fire exercises and qualifications out there. And so it caused kind of a global look at what's going on out there and who's doing what out there, both from our perspective and from other folks that are wandering around. And I know the motorcycles and ATVs have been a continuous problem out there because it's not really regulated and we don't usually go back there. But there have been a lot of complaints from the neighbors over the years, maybe 1 or 2 a year. And then Dave Perkins' request kind of led us to take a look at what was going on out there.
Okay, thank you.
Matt, did you have a question? Okay. So, everybody satisfied with Deb's decision to not allow it? Okay.
so basically nothing's going to change. They could still go where they go. We're just not going to allow them to go somewhere else. The last thing I think that, oh no, there's 2 things here. So we got our settlement letter from Navistar for the $10,000 for the trucks, the rebate because of the settlement. And I don't know if all the towns got theirs, but it expires on April 9th of 2022. There's 5 of them on ours. We put in for 4 trucks in our budget for next year, so we'll use the 4. So that would leave the 5th truck that we're not quite sure about. We're trying to get clarity on the fact that the rebates expire on April 9th of 2022, whether you have to order it before then, and whether you have to pay for it before then. We can't get an answer yet, but we're still working on it. So I don't know if that causes a problem or anything with the way we procure stuff.
Budget officer, procurement officer.
So what Deb's alluding to is that if the Navistar rebates have to be redeemed by April 9th, and that redemption can only take place upon payment and not order, we may have an issue. Recently, we've been experiencing 9 to 11 month delivery time on truck orders. So what Deb's alluding to is that if we were to order the 4 trucks we have budgeted on January 2nd of 2021, we may get those September, October, November of next year. If we then turn around and order a truck on January 2nd of 2022, and they're still as backlogged as they have been the last couple of years, we may not receive that truck until, let's say, end of the summer of 2022. And if we have to trigger the rebate by actually paying for the truck, we will not be able to do that prior to April 9th. So that's why I asked Deb to go to the manufacturer and ask what the particulars are. If we can claim the rebate when we cut the PO, we're totally fine. If they tell us that the rebate can only be applied upon payment, we're going to have another discussion about potentially ordering a 5th truck next year to take advantage of the rebate, if the board chooses to do so.
But even if we did that, it might not arrive until the 22 budget. It's like, it might not arrive until February or March, even if you ordered it in the summer.
So the tricky part is if they decide to do that with the rebate, what I'm describing, that would be them living in cash world. We still live in accrual world. We got to have the $225,000 to cut the PO again. So we would still need to have a conversation about appropriating the money next year to cut the PO in order to hopefully take delivery of the truck by April 9th. But again, we're not sure that that is how they're going to treat it. Most of these or a lot of these trucks are sold to the municipalities. They've got to understand that's an issue, and with their delay times, maybe they're just going to say, yeah, it's fine, we'll credit it when you cut the PO, in which case we're fine just sticking with our normal course of action. I think Deb just wanted to put it all on your radar.
Yep.
Also, so you could take it into account at the town level.
Yeah, we should. I haven't seen anything yet at our town level that I know of.
And the last thing that I wanted to run by you guys is if and when we were to pay for the towns, I wanted to get a consensus on how everyone wanted to approach that. My main concern is we're trying to preserve the road machinery fund by the machinery rentals. So would it be reasonable that the towns would pay the machinery rental on the paver and maybe take anything else out in kind? Or did you guys want to consider a different approach to it if this ever happened?
So currently, like if the county happens to pay for somebody, you guys know your highway supers will send 3 or 4 trucks to help the county out in another spot. And it's kind of, just everybody tries to cover everybody there. Deb was talking to me and concerning that, 10 years down the road when we're all not here, but she's still going to be here, and she has to order a new paver, and they say, why does it have 20,000 hours on it? She says, well, 10,000 of those were used with the towns, and Al might still be here and say, well, where's the cash rental that we have to buy the next one or whatever? So she's just trying to see, some towns get more advantage of it than others and whatnot, and if we need a policy on this.
I think we would need a policy, but I think we need to, I guess we'd have to see what that rate is. We'd need something more.
Right, you have
to look
the
at.
state rate, don't you, Deb?
What'd you say?
Do you have the state rate on the rental currently?
No.
Okay,
I forgot.
okay. But, even, if it's keeping track of what the truck hours that you're returning are, so if there's a difference between the amount of time the paver's used and the truck return used to help out is or whatever, this is a pretty expensive piece of equipment and wants to make sure it's getting justified payment back, yeah. So, it's just a policy. She's wondering if anybody feels that we need a policy for it, or do we just go along as we are, and if the county absorbs for the goodness of the towns down the road, then that's what you guys decide, so. Matt?
Well, Dana was ahead of me.
Oh, go ahead, Dana.
I think since the county charges other departments within the county a rental rate, it's only fair that you would charge in different department, different town, a rental rate. And if the towns want to save money on the rental rate, then the towns can contribute more of their trucks to haul the blacktop. I think it's very reasonable to request a rental rate from a town.
Yeah.
Matt?
I agree with Dana. I think also, yeah, we need the policy. It is fair. Thank you, Dana.
I think we should consider some kind of, trial run with one of the smaller towns that's only paving a few miles, and do it 1 year and let all the chips fall where they may, so to speak, to see where the good parts for the town are and the good parts for the county is, so we can then set up a set of parameters moving forward that we can expand and go a little further. But maybe a trial run with somebody doing 2 or 3 miles might not be the end of the world, so that Deb can see where it pays for her and doesn't pay for her, and she can say, well, the policy will state that so-and-so will draw the pavement, or the other group will draw the pavement.
Was your use of chips, was that upon?
It was trying to be, but nobody picked up on it.
I picked up on that. It's very interesting, because that means there'd be a 20% reduction.
Yep, which you can use chips towards it, right? There we go. Dan?
Yeah, just so I understand, are you saying the county is paving for some towns all their chip money? Is that what I'm hearing?
We haven't done any paving for the towns. Well, we did one intersection, but that was abutting a road that we were paving on Route 30 this summer. But no, we haven't done paving for the towns. It's just that it's come up and I wasn't sure how we should approach it. But I did find out that the rental rate is $103.88 an hour for the paver. The rental rates are not updated on an annual basis. It's kind of sporadic. I think the last update was August of 2017 or maybe 2018.
Anybody else with comments or questions? Dana?
Deb, you have been in a little bit of discussion with the Hartford Highway Department about this, so maybe we're a little bit farther along than other towns, so maybe Hartford could be your test case.
Yeah.
We only pave about 3 miles anyway.
I wonder if the county will charge a mobilization fee to move the paver from one town to the other, like,
Well, I
they
think,
usually get charged for pretty.
That's what we were trying to avoid.
Yeah.
right, I think that, Deb, you were more looking at helping out town when you were in the area
Right.
and not be running around the county just specifically paving for towns.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It would, it would behoove us to do it as we have spoke before about when we were in the area. Or if for some reason we got all of our paving done ahead of time, and I know at the end of the year, some people are scrambling if they have enough money. If we're done, we could help out, but stuff like that.
So is the feeling of the board then is have her do a test run, kind of follow on a town next season and see what the costs, how they balance out, or how? Is that the direction, or? Go ahead, Kathy. Yeah?
So if we're only using Hartford as a pilot town, does that mean that Debbie's only working with Hartford next year, or is Hartford the pilot town to pay a bill and anybody else is getting it for free? Honest is honest, and you find out you picked one town for a pilot.
Dan?
Yeah, I have to ask this question, Deb, because now we're into this dialogue. It has been past practice, and we took advantage of that. Whenever the county is paving one of their roads, if they come across a dirt road in that particular town, it's been past practice that you pave like 100 feet of the dirt road, so there's a stopping area. Now, is that something that now is gonna change with this policy? Or is town's gonna have to pay for that 100 feet now? I'm just asking, because I don't wanna get anybody in trouble, but I know we've taken advantage of it in our town.
Did the county do that, or just the state do that?
She says, does the county do that or just the state?
The county has done it in the past. We took advantage of it on a dirt road, that the county was paving, that they paved 100 feet of the dirt road, because when a car stops on a dirt road to enter onto a higher traffic road, you tend to give it a little more gas, and your tires spin a little bit, pretty soon you got a dollop in front of every paved road where there's a dirt road intersect. So it was just past practice. I don't know if that impacts this policy or the test run, or is it just gonna be in Hartford they're gonna do it? I'm trying to find out.
So the intersections of a county road with a town road, the intersections are our responsibility, and we would pave them. I believe that in the past, when we've paved that far back, the town has paid for the blacktop, but nobody has paid for the machinery rental, no. When a county road intersects with a state road, the intersections are the state road. Any intersection is the hierarchy rules for the responsibility.
Thank you.
Oh, I meant when the state paved, they paved up a dirt road in Easton. That was what I was asking. It was the state's practice to pave up the dirt road. I didn't know if it was the county's practice to do it, because the Easton Dirt Road by me was paved by the state, not by the county.
Oh,
That was where my question was coming from, because I didn't know of any other one in Easton.
I think that we usually work with the towns on what they want, and like when we did it this summer on County Route 30, the town paid for the blacktop and we paved more than we would have had it just been our intersection plan, so to speak.
Brian?
Yeah, so I think back to our topic of the policy, I think we should have the policy in place even to the pilot and then tweak it if it doesn't fit. But I think you want the policy from the get-go so there's no questions and no room for error. And if we have to tweak the policy, that's fine.
Dana?
Oftentimes a policy gets destroyed the first time you use it. So it's also a test case of the policy too. If you pick one town and then you need to amend the policy afterwards, it's not that big of a mess. And Hartford is very agreeable on all things, so it's a good place to come.
It's so reasonable over there.
Okay, Deb, maybe we could get a policy kind of wrote up and brought back and have the committee look at it and see if that's what they want to go with for the test next year.
Okay. I'll get on that. And that's all I have for today, I think. Does anybody have anything else?
We have the memorandum with Warren County for the brine machine. We talked about this in committee and had the discussion with the Warren County Highway Superintendent, and now we have the paperwork. I think it's been looked over by Roger, and we need to approve the memorandum of agreement. So I guess, do we need a motion first to have the chairman sign the?
Right.
So do I have a motion for the chairman to sign?
Yep,
Okay.
I'll make the
I'll
motion.
move it.
Daryl, Cassie, second. Any discussion?
Is there gonna be a summary of just what that was now, just to remind us all? So we don't have amnesia.
We were gonna put 10,000 towards the brine machine, and they were housing it, and we were gonna schedule to bring it over to fill our different facilities.
I just didn't want somebody saying later, well, you didn't even tell us what you were focused on. I just figured the summary would help, so. Thank you.
Send it out.
Dan?
Is this a new machine we're putting 10,000 towards, or are you?
It's a new one. They're buying the machine and talk to us, and I think some of the other counties also.
And what's the cost of the machine?
$107,000.
I mean, what percentage are we? Is it 10%? Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? Dana?
But we also had discussions of the county purchasing our own machines, so we're gonna do both avenues.
That's if the grant comes through.
Go ahead, Deb.
If the grant comes through, then we'll have our own machine, but it's going to take probably at least a year or two, if not more, for that to come to fruition. so that if we do get the grant, we'll have a brine making machine. So the 10,000 that this is investing in, and we would still have access to that afterwards too. It wouldn't be like we would stop using theirs or if we didn't need to.
But,
Any,
well, I still have a question.
go ahead.
If that's gonna come through next year, and you did not enter into this agreement with Warren County this year, you would not have spent $10,000 and we'd have our own machine next year. Are you spending $10,000 too soon is my question?
I guess it was the timing of the events because we applied for this grant last year and did not get it. And then when it came up again this year, Beth asked if she wanted us to apply. And I brought it to committee and we decided to apply, knowing that we had already entered into the agreement with Warren County. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
So you would end up with two brine makers and only paying 110% of the cost, which sounds a pretty good deal to me.
Well, the grant is for 100,000.
Okay, even better deal. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
No, I mean, to Dana's point, Dana, Putnam entered into the agreement already, and we contributed 5,000 towards that machine. Payback for us is 2 years. So if we get something next year, yeah, we may have a sunk cost in it, but it was really because, the power of Lake George water basin, I think overruled or maybe had a little bit more to do with approval of the grant for them. So we were in on it because of our contribution to the watershed in Lake George.
Okay. All in favor of signing having Sam sign the memorandum of agreement? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Anything else, Deb, that you want to bring before?
I don't have anything. Does anybody else?
I don't have anything else.
I just wanted to mention one thing with the rebates, this will make it, an opportunity to put that on the revenue side in the 2021 budget, and they will be able to buy the automatic trucks and hot patch machine. So, there's a big benefit to that all going through at once, and we can add that into the budget. I plan on adding that into the budget. So, that was the number one priority was the patch machine, other than the automatic.
Brian, refresh us, what was the rebate on the trucks?
$10,000 a piece. And that was basically the cost of the patch machine to the pot. And then, Deb also changed, as Dana brought up the cost of the shoes. And so Deb, cut that by 20,000 so we could make up for the automatic. So those two things will be in the budget, just so everyone's aware.
Anybody have anything else? Motion to adjourn then. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.